Okay. I don't know if we got audio on the live stream, but we'll find out. Farnsworth, you've been invited. Can you guys all hear me?
I can.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've got the live stream going. We'll see if it's actually doing its job. At least we're recording here. And yeah, give me a second while I share the agenda. Lots of things to talk about today. I'm giving another couple minutes. I'll send out a tweet here. Get some more folks in. Okay. Well, we got yeah. All right. Well, I won't wait for too many more people. If you guys want to send out a tweet or get some other folks in here, that'd be great. And obviously, it's going to be an interesting meeting if you've taken a look at the agenda. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I'll start things off with some opening remarks. I think clearly, we're making some serious progress right now with Dorkfi and House of Voy, as well as lots of other things that are happening within the ecosystem itself. I think we'll talk about it here coming up, but with Wilder kind of taking on a new role, in the ecosystem as a shitposter extraordinaire. I think, he's making some noise and doing a good job of bringing some more attention to the space. It's definitely an interesting way to spice things up, and I'm loving it. I'm feeling quite a bit of inspiration to tweet more frequently, maybe not quite as schizo shitposter style that Wilder's approaching at this stage, but I think it is something that we should all probably be doing a little bit more of to bring some more attention to the space. Maybe not quite as volatile as him, but I do think it's an interesting thing to watch and participate in. So engagement is key in this space. It's all about visibility and engagement. And I think that we're at a stage where we can, really start to be a little bit more engaging in the Twitter realm with other ecosystems. And, it's pretty interesting to go and check out where other ecosystems are in their development too. I recently have had a chance to explore Barrachain a little bit closer, and I have to say that I'm super impressed with how far we've come along in this past year. without having any serious VC backing or um, any real strong large amounts of money coming into the space. So, super impressed if you compare us to some of the other things that are out there that launched around the same time with similar ethos. Barachain, Monad is still in testnet, and I know that they kind of launched in that same area. Not throwing shade at any different ecosystem, just want to bring attention to the fact that we've done a lot and have had a serious impact in this space. With a little, not as much funding, not as many developers, and I think we're much further along in a lot of regards. So that's exciting. But yeah, wanted to let's go ahead and jump into the kind of agenda, the communication updates and announcements, and I just kind of consider this all agenda items here. Obviously, Wilder stepping down, there's now an open council seat. So I think we should have a healthy discussion about how we want to manage that situation and also talk about council elections. I know we've come up to one full year sitting on the council. I probably would have forgotten that it's been an entire year if Wilder hadn't stepped down. Time happens quickly, and you don't, when you're having fun, you don't realize how fast things have kind of gone by. But it opens up opportunities for other folks to step up, take on different roles, and I think it's worth having a difficult and hard conversation about council elections. What is the position worth to each and every one of you if you were to kind of take it on? Do we think we've done a good job of do we want to keep and maintain the same model that we've had throughout this last year, or do we want to try to take a different direction? I think at this stage, 1 year later, we have a true, real opportunity to go in, shake things up, and make some different proposals, and we could wipe the slate clean and go through a proper election process, or we could go through just filling Wilder's seat and reevaluating that way. In my opinion, I think we probably should have re-election type campaigns and do certain things like that. But let's have some more conversations about this. I can see Haruf is looking to unmute right now. Thanks for having your camera on, buddy. Appreciate it. But yeah, go ahead, jump in.
I wore my Dragon Embryo shirt today, so I want to look good on camera. The first question before we even start talking about elections is, can we have an impact on the total pool of money that's available for paying council members? At the current rates, we're not going to attract anybody good for the council. We're going to get stuck with shitty people like Bagman. So we should probably take a look at what the total amounts are, and then I know that we don't have like a full governance model available to us yet, but I was mentioning to Bagman the other day my idea about how we could approach this, and I kind of think what we should do is we should have an established base rate of pay for a council member that's commensurate with the effort that is required to be put into it. And then I think we need to have some kind of a kicker on top for people like him who put a tremendous amount of effort into the position, as opposed to like kind of the minimum effort. Because it's pretty clear. I mean, there's a lot of great people on the council, but it's pretty clear that there's there's varying levels of um, of impact that they have based on individual effort. And my thought was that that either through like a ranking system or through votes based on your VOI, holdings or whatever, that the individuals on the council should in some way receive more funding than others based on like past performance and kind of projected future performance. Like I would rate Bagman near the top as far as total output that he's had, not just meetings like this, which have nothing to do with the council, but also council reviews, interaction with the community, that kind of thing. And so it'd be nice if I could say like maybe choose my top three, and then the total top three of the community votes on, could receive additional funding to incentivize people, on a month to month basis or whatever, to put in more effort. Um, so yeah, that's kind of like generally the thought process I've had. I don't know if anybody else wants to weigh in about it, but I could see it like re-upping monthly. Like you could change your vote monthly if you see somebody who's really picking up the slack, and that kind of thing. Um, but I do think that the base pay situation needs to be addressed. Otherwise, people are maybe the people who phone it in are phoning it in because they're like not incentivized. I mean, that's like the hard truth. I mean, I know that like from Shelley's perspective, I know he does reviews and stuff as a council member also, but he's very busy with other programming tasks and stuff. So maybe he doesn't have the amount of time that an unemployed person like myself and Bagman have to be reviewing things.
We're employed by Darkfire right now.
That's true.
We just
Yeah.
don't make any money yet.
I,
So.
but I mean, like maybe that's the thing. Maybe they just like maybe they're not incentives. They don't give a shit. That's I think that's fucking normal.
Right. And I have to say, Shelly and I have definitely spent lots and lots and lots of time together, over the past year, working on tag teaming many different proposals. So,
I'm
and
picking up
probably
Shelley
spending
right now.
more time on. I feel like I've spent a lot of time uh, above others, not to like talk down on anybody, but above others, at least getting community feedback and community sentiment, in spaces, and actually really digging into understanding what it is that everybody wants to see and wants to do. And that aspect of things actually does take a lot of effort and a lot more time than others. And I don't know if it's like an incentive to participate in those types of things, getting the feedback or not. I think that it could get challenging to do like monthly, hey, this person did more than that person on a monthly basis. Like, I think that could get, confusing, but it does play into like how, whenever we have a delegation set up, how will we be able, how flexible will that delegation be? And would it be on a locked in to this person on the monthly basis, like you're saying, or would it be, more flexible where after every council meeting, somebody could change the way that they are delegating based on the feedback that they're getting from the council member who is addressing whatever proposal might be out there. So I don't know, and I do totally agree with you that the base pay probably it's really not enough to warrant as much attention as I think that this role needs. And I don't know if you wanted to read back into that proposal, the original council salary proposal, and go through and read some of my commentary on it. I've been kind of saying that since the beginning, that we might end up in a situation where we're not able to attract high quality folks for the position if it's not compensated right, and also it won't get enough attention. Now, there's another side of things that, like, is what we're doing too complex in the first place? Is there a way that we could potentially simplify the entire proposal process and it not necessarily require as much conversation and DD, and it's more of like a kind of a pass fail, system where it's just, hey, come propose, pitch us, present a pitch, and either you pass or you fail, and it could potentially speed things up. I know Zarmian has mentioned doing something like that. And what do you consider a high quality candidate? I think it's somebody who's participated in my mind, it's somebody who's participated in the ecosystem for a long enough time, somebody that has shown that they are, responsible to contribute and make, responsible fiduciary type decisions with the funding, the community chest, treasury, and I think those are kind of maybe the low bar for it. Go ahead, Shelley.
Yeah, I would just say that, like, one of the other things to keep in mind is it's a commitment for a little longer than the first term, right? With the first consul, it was 1 year, but the what people don't probably have in their mind yet, that the real, well, the terms moving forward will be 2 years. So like, ideally you should anyone that's looking to fill it, they should be committed to fulfill the whole term, right? I mean, like, even the current consul, there have been some people that had they made it through, like Wilder, right? He made it the whole year, and he got out. But just keep in mind that it's 2 years, right? And I guess if you're not doing, if you're not feeling, there's probably a way to step down, and there's also, like, the forced way, which is like the whole built-in impeachment method we have, right?
Yeah, that's true, and I think you're raising a good point too about the 2 year term, that this opens up an opportunity for vesting payments too, where people actually feel like, hey, and it could be scheduled in such a way where there's greater incentives towards the end of the 2 years, and you have to go through the whole process in order to get your entire vest, and we could talk about things like that. I think that one of the reasons why we had it set up the way that we had it set up, where there's no vest, was in the earliest stages of the launch of the chain. Nobody had any void to do anything with. You had to go to Mexi or Coinstore and purchase, and a lot of people didn't want to go through the process of setting up a VPN to get access to Mexi or Coinstore, and most of our community is American, and we didn't want to go through that whole working with a exchange that is basically walled off from the U.S. And I think that brought some challenges at the beginning, where, hey, council members, we were looking get paid so that we could then use the funds in the ecosystem to participate in things like the winter NFT games and actually make an impact in those winter NFT games. So it was like everything that we had earned in the months leading up to the winter games a lot of folks on the council ended up just like using those funds to like go buy NFTs and support the ecosystem anyway. And I think, in this next year or 2-year term, it would make sense to have a vesting schedule and maybe some free, or not free, I should say, available, not locked up, payments as well. I don't know. I think that we need to have a good, solid, open election and, bring in a bunch of people and see how we kind of do with that. But it's all about, hey, what's the number that is actually, how do you guys value this role in this position? Like, what do you guys see out of it? I know I've heard Scotty say, oh, we should have council members, have as much equity as the block authority over a 20-year period. To me, that kind of makes sense, where you've set aside, a large amount of tokens for the folks that are responsible for, doing the heavy lifting on decision making for the chain. That could be too much to a lot of people. I think the incentive structure and the entire, equity breakdown would then be concentrated in the hands of the folks who ran the council and the block authority, and that might not be good. So how do you mitigate that? Maybe instead of having 2 years, or maybe it is the 2-year term, you have term limits where you can't serve more than one term, or you can't serve more than 2 years, or whatever it might be. I think anything at this stage is on the table. We've gone through our first year, and now we're going to have to submit a proposal for the upcoming terms, and this is where we have an opportunity to go in here and wrong some or right some wrongs, if you will. And I don't know if it was wrong. It was just that's how things were set up at the beginning, and we've gone through this year, and now we've got an opportunity to do something slightly different if we want to.
I like the idea of having like some amount that's locked and some amount that's available. I mean, you're right. There's generally this innate desire from council members to do things that support the ecosystem, and I don't think I'd want to have everything completely locked up where they couldn't do that.
Yeah, I think like a reasonable way to do that would be I think it would be like, the amount that's not locked up would be like comparative to like what we have now, and then maybe the locked up portion would be the rest, right, for the term. But yeah, I think
do you think
it sounds like we're leaning towards that model.
And do you, Shelley, just because I know we've gone through this, we've been in the trenches, and if Kieran wants to come up and kind of talk about his experience on the council as well, I'd be happy to have him up as well. But do you think that we're spinning our wheels too much sometimes with the DD and with the amount of conversations that we have, and how like honestly it's kind of a difficult gauntlet that we and barrier to entry that we put up for most of these projects. A lot of projects probably wouldn't want to come up and do a open space where we poke holes at their project. And do you think it's good that it's so difficult to get a grant at this stage, or not? I mean, like, what are kind of some of your guys' thoughts?
Well, I think that all of the evaluations so far have been fair, right? It's like we're not we're not we don't really have to just go give money out to people with bicycle clubs, right? So, but yeah, there have been there have been some that are they're just like way out of the picture, and then there have been some that you realize that and and yeah, I think like we've made some progress so far, like coming up with policies to like to make it so that we don't make some prospective projects that are they're just not ready to be evaluated, spend so much time on them. Most of the issues that we've had is a lot of the proposals, they just don't, there's just not enough communication to go through the process, right? And yeah, I think we've made progress there so far, but a lot of energy goes towards these evaluations, and I think yeah, yeah, and so like our track record so far is we haven't, it's mostly like retroactive, and ecosystem services are like incentives. So something with something that's proactive, it has to be like all milestone based, and we just haven't really seen anything like that yet that has succeeded. We have one, but I think we should bring it out into the fold, and have it like canceled. But it's yeah, I
Which
think
one are you talking about?
I'm talking about the one with hash pass.
Oh yeah. Well, he hasn't done
I
anything, so I mean,
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think that we need a like. I think. Well, we'll give him a benefit of the doubt, but I think we just need to stop babying people, and have them, if they don't take the initiative, we just take it away, right? We do a lot of babying.
and then we
That's easy to say, but if you don't baby people through your crazy long process, then you'll get even less people through than you already get. Like,
Well,
even with all the hand holding, you're barely getting any proposals through.
it's not really that, right? It's like people that have already passed the process. We don't have to go and knock on people's doors, and tell them we're ready to give them their money.
Plus, most of these proposals that are coming in right now are absolutely bullshit. Like the ones that are like decent, like they get like the right amount of attention and kind of get managed through. But like so, like a couple months ago, somebody posted all of our information somewhere, and we get a lot of bots now. And like all those kind of bot looking ones need to just be dismissed. I mean, it's wasting people's time.
and that's where we came up with some of the different policy changes. But to your point, Farnsworth, it's a difficult process, and we've put up barriers to entry, and it's worth potentially reevaluating how we do things in that sense. And maybe it is, hey, we just do retroactive and incentive type grants. And if you I don't know, you just come and you pitch, and then it goes to vote, and we give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and then it would be a little bit easier. But right now it is a manual process where we go and do, due diligence, and we try to screen, and we go and talk to the community and say, hey, what do you think about all this? We take your feedback, and we actually make decisions based on it. Sometimes we vote and vote against what the community has said, and sometimes we vote and use a lot of community feedback. And I think that it's not uniform every time, and there's a lot of gray area in that. But would love to hear. Kieran, thanks for joining and being on video too. Appreciate it, and would love to hear any thoughts that you might have too from your experience.
Yeah, so I think I mean, like, ideologically, I don't like the idea of just rewarding retroactive grants. But I think the real sort of because Voiagers and the price actually, like, dumping Voiagers right now could really affect the price, and so it's quite sensitive. We can't really allow sort of people that we don't really know to come in and, like, if they just dump the Voiagers just based on some bullshit proposal, then it can affect the whole community. It's not like a small blip. It can have a huge impact. So that's why I think, yeah, you're right, like retroactive grants, because you've proven, right, that you are you're not going to just dump Voiagers, because your project will go down the toilet. So I think just on sort of a realist terms, it's probably going down the retroactive route for now, until obviously there's traction, and we can start moving into it. Going back to probably give you my sort of idea around sort of my experience as a council member. I think I haven't sort of engaged as much as, say, you people here, council members. But I've sort of never. So I had it in my head that I would never sell, like, the Voiagers I would own. So I think I put it into sort of a compartment where it's more of a passion project. Not a passion project, but I'm in it for the love of like, for the love of it. So it's kind of like, for me, even increasing the incentive or even decreasing it, it kind of doesn't really have too much of an impact on me. So I'll still do it. Like, I would do it, for free, because I want to see it succeed. And, I do have, like, I've worked hard on other things, and I continue to work hard and stuff. So, yeah, that's not like a conclusion. It's just, I was just trying to give you my experience. But you can directly sort of correlate my sort of activity as a council member. Sort of, I don't engage with the community as much, and I don't think I've done as many evaluations as you guys and things like that. So yeah, that was my
totally.
sort of,
and there's a ton of value in my mind just from using this as a learning experience, and also being able to participate in the earliest stages of governance, and the launch of a blockchain too. And part of the thing that I think we'll need to get more at least strong candidates. I think that, at least from what I've heard from folks that I think would be good candidates, the Yayos, the Scotties, anybody really in here right now, I think would probably make for a good candidate. They're all saying, hey, it's not worth my time. And we've kind of got that. I got that feeling from Wilder as well. I think if you ask him, he probably would say it's not worth his time at this stage, and he feels that, from my understanding, he feels that he's making a greater impact on the entire ecosystem from a different role. So there's that, and I think Scotty feels the same way about his his position before he. I don't want to speak on his behalf, but I'm sure you guys have all probably heard him say it previously that he stepped down from his admin role because he wants to have a stronger voice and not feel like he needs to mute himself because he's so close to the governance side of things. But I kind of think we as council members should probably cut through some of the bullshit sometimes and just speak our minds even more. And I am on record for being one of those people that will just call the elephant out in the room and speak my mind and cut through some of the bullshit and bring up difficult conversations. But there are other times when I keep some of my thoughts to myself, and it's a challenge a little bit. It's a lot of work when you do take it as seriously as like, hey, this is how do we protect our investment in time and our efforts that we've already kind of put in into this ecosystem. And I want to make sure that the time that I've spent here and is impactful across the board. And so that's where I'm like, all right, it's a passion project for me. It's also a learning experience. It's also part of my income strategy to build and grow my digital asset portfolio. And I want to make sure that we're making the right decisions and there's not we haven't left difficult conversations get swept under the rug. And I think that this is one of those difficult conversations that we just have to have. Go ahead, Shelley.
Yeah, I I'd just been thinking about it, like how I would be, how I would behave if I wasn't a council member. But I'd probably behave the same way, and I'd probably submit like policy proposals, and I'd probably try to shoot somebody, but yeah, I think there are like extra responsibilities, but you still don't, it's not like you can't participate as a community member, as a builder. You can, there's still like you're not chained up, so it's a good position to have. And if people don't like what you're doing, be prepared to get shut down, don't feel like because you're in a dangerous position, where people can do that to you. Don't feel like you have to kiss the babies. Just be yourself. So if anyone listening is really thinking about it and feel like okay, it's gonna, being a council member, it's gonna change the way I interact with everybody. Just no, I don't think it does.
I think that Zarmian, I agree with him, and he really struck at the core of the issue. And I feel like a lot of this talk about the council and incentives and all that is kind of talking around the issue. Because it's like he said, not specifically, but whether you offer a council member 100,000 VOI or 10 million VOI, either way, there's no liquidity to pull out. Nobody can actually claim any benefits for their work. And so I think it's really less of how much should the council members get and more of a how do we provide liquidity for the chain, because also, like he said, you can't even offer grants really impartially and unfairly because a lot of the people who might request grants aren't a long-standing member of the ecosystem, and they will want to sell their tokens in order to make money off of the work they did. This is why people make projects. Yes, we all love our communities and stuff, but developers make projects to support their lives, their families, and all that stuff. So if there's no liquidity, then it's kind of a moot point how much to offer council members or this or that. And talking about 20-year investment periods, or even a council member being dedicated and standing for 2 years with no profit, no liquidity, no nothing, is like, I don't understand even why you would take the conversation in that direction, really. And I would ask you guys, like, why are we doing it this way? I know that governance is a popular narrative within the larger blockchain ecosystem. A lot of projects, they love to talk about community-led governance, but like Dorkfi, you aren't building your platform based off of votes and conversations and everything with the community and everything they say, right? Because it's not a good way to build a business. I can appreciate the narrative, and I know why people like the narrative, but I don't think that community-led governance is really going to build Voi and bring liquidity in a way that makes the conversation around council members and governors and all that and governance even like viable, especially if the chain started growing. Because right now there's maybe 15, 20 people who actively participate as community members and are part of these conversations. If we actually had users, how would we manage that? Like, it's just super inefficient. It's not really gonna, I feel like, lead anywhere, this model. I really think we need like a foundation at the very least who just focuses on running the chain like a business, and the projects within the chain, they can be community led, they can have governance, they can do voting, but this is a very slow, very cumbersome, very ineffective, and it kind of handicaps any sort of leadership within the chain to actually bring the chain liquidity and users in the method of a business, the way a business would be led.
And I think that's a fair point. I also kind of think that it's an opportunity for us to actually step up and take on that role as the council, and be that what you're describing as, like, hey, we actually need to run this thing like a business, and we are not going to accept anything but retroactive grants and proposals that we as a council come together and say this is best for the entire ecosystem. And then maybe it is that the council is actually the foundation and the leadership structure that has more more control. And I think we already kind of do have more control than we're giving ourselves. I think that it's they're doing this in this way. We kind of set up our own processes for how we do these evaluations. We set up our own processes for how difficult it is for folks to come through and submit proposals, and we have an opportunity here to make some serious changes, and to take on a more controlling stance as a council too. It's just we have to agree and step up to the plate and operate in that way before it actually happens. I don't know if I don't think that giving the block authority the authority to be the dictator of everything that we do here is a good idea. I don't necessarily think that is the best way to kind of move things forward. If we're going to have one group that is actually stepping up to the plate and providing serious leadership on this, it probably should be the council over block authority. And what does that mean? That means maybe block authority doesn't show up to the council meetings and influence decisions and run run those meetings. Really, it's more on the council members, and that's we are the leaders. Actually, if you kind of think about it, we already are. Looking back at this past year, there was a time when block authority had a lot of sway, and then it kind of shifted back to, hey, they aren't going to take on some of that extra work, and it was put back on us, and we went forward with creating our own processes and how we evaluate these things. And I think it is worth having a hard look at like the proposal process and simplifying it in some ways, and maybe giving the council more responsibility to step up and run it like a business rather than just like reviewing proposals.
I mean, I agree. I don't consider block authority, they've failed as leaders. I feel like they've failed to do anything except set up the chain. But I also don't think you've achieved the independence from them that you're saying, because the only time I ever hear from block authority is when they tell you that you're about to allocate too many tokens and it could wipe out the ecosystem, and they shut it down. And as I understand it, their secret president, who no one ever knows or sees or hears from, he is the one who has to sign everything to release tokens. So really, like, you don't have that much control anyways. They can they do still control everything.
He's never done anything, voted against anything that we've recommended. So, I mean, it's kind of... Yeah.
What if you voted to dissolve the council and community government and transfer the funds to a foundation to run it like a business? Do you think block authority would let you do that?
Yeah, no, I think it's on the table for sure.
I hope so. I don't think that when I say these things or we have these conversations, at least for my part, I consider block authority as really more than an anchor than anything else. I don't think they've really done much. I don't think they're going to do anything. And I think that talking, like I said, about governance and councils and stuff like that is kind of talking around the issue. It's really the chain that needs the attention, and it needs liquidity, and it needs to be run better, the chain itself. Or all of these conversations end up at, it doesn't matter what you offer council members because there's no liquidity for any of them. And it doesn't matter what grants you give out because there's no liquidity for any of them. And actually, if you give out a grant greater than a couple 100,000 or something, one person who's not a cult member of Voiager is going to wipe out the whole ecosystem, and then it's done anyways. And talking about 20-year investments and incentives over 5 years, like we couldn't even stay listed on a centralized exchange for more than a year because we lack trading volume. And it was like the most bootleg side centralized exchange ever, which I think was a complete bad decision. by Voi, or not by Voi, by Block Authority to even waste their money doing that. So I really think the entire model that Voi is run under needs reevaluation. And I don't really think that I know that everyone loves the community governance narrative, but I don't think it's an effective way to run a chain or a business. Because I don't think you guys run DorkFi as a community governed project, right? You run it yourselves and you make the decisions that are best for the project and for your business. I think Voi needs to start doing the same thing.
But it's a bit of a chicken and egg problem, right? Because you say there's no liquidity, which means there's no, it gets badly run because there's no incentive. But then there's no, and proposals aren't. We don't pass proposals, this kind of thing because we don't trust them. But then the only way to get liquidity is to have projects be built that provide, bring in users. And the only way to do that is to pass proposals, and so go around in circles. So, but I do think you're spot on, Farnsworth, with liquidity is the problem. I think it's the root of kind of all the issues. But I think that kind of needs to be solved, and then everything would have run smoother if we couldn't wipe out the chain with like someone just dumping a grant proposal, for instance.
I think it could be solved because you're right. It is like a circle, Kieran. But, last night in the space, there was a bit of the conversation that was focused around like VCs and stuff, the dreaded word. They're like Voldemort. But I'm pretty sure that didn't Chris get venture capitalist funds from like, what was it, Earnright or whatever, Arrington Capital to even build Voi? I think that we need a foundation that runs as a business and seeks out venture capitalist funds with a strong narrative for what they're going to do with it to bring liquidity to this chain. And I think that they need to focus on the core infrastructure of Voi and the narrative of Voi in order to attract natural liquidity and more users. Because it's been kind of a while. It's only been a year for Voi, but there's plenty of chains that have followed this same kind of model and trajectory, and none of them really appear to be going anywhere. So if we want success, I don't think this model that we're pursuing is the way to it.
There's tokens, from what I understand, that the community owns that we could offer to VCs to get more liquidity on chain. So maybe, if we don't go the Farnsworth way, which, is an option, but if we don't go that way and we keep, doing it exactly the way we're doing it as a community chain, maybe we as a community find a way to raise liquidity, via selling some of our tokens or whatever, so I don't think any of us are against VCs necessarily because we know like we kind of need them, just a thought.
I like the idea though that that VCs and VC investment, you can just call it investment, that investors in a chain don't have to be negative as long as their values and their vision align with the thing that they're investing in. And I do think that that one thing that there are a number of people in this community have is access to people who might want to invest, and maybe we should take a look as a community and decide whether or not we want to seek additional outside investment to fund the kinds of things that we're trying to build. With like what Farnsworth was saying, I think what you were saying was with the kind of like alignment that would make those investments a positive impact on the chain instead of like something that's like sucking at what we've already built. I don't think that's necessarily a negative thing, and we've got people who could potentially find people like that. We've got a good
Yeah,
narrative.
the foundation, you know, had done that when Algorand hit like 9 cents. They found a VC and they sold a bunch of tokens. I'm not saying that's what we should do, but it's always a possibility, you know, that we could sell some of our Void tokens that we as a community own, and you know, we could do something with that. It's a possibility.
Yes.
I mean, we own these tokens. You know, everybody in here is technically the holder of the community chest. You know, so
Yes, and to be clear, I am not advocating for like not making this a community chain or ignoring the community or anything like that. I just don't think that the current governance model, I think it's slow, it's ineffective, and it's too shaky, it's too wishy-washy for real progress. So I don't by any means advocate for ignoring the community or trying to cut them out or anything like that. I believe that you can have unified leadership. You can have leadership that still listens to the community and takes their input and makes decisions based on what they want. But I think at the end of the day, you do need leadership that is the final say and actually makes decisions and moves to do these things. And also, I think that other businesses, right? If you're offering a business to business service, say like a rewards model like Void was originally intended, or if you're offering, you know, trying to pitch to a venture capital firm, I think that from their perspective, they want to see a kind of real authority that they're working with. If you can say, hey, we're the Void Foundation or something like that, then I think that holds more weight in the mind of a business, right? Just talking about words than saying like, oh, I'm like on the Void Council, the community elected council. It just doesn't hit the same when you're talking to a business and asking them to give you a ton of money. I think if you go and you say, we're the foundation, we're, you know, this and that hits different.
Yeah, I was gonna like this is just this is kind of off topic, but it's going back to where Taco was saying about like the foundation, or you know, us coming up with you know, some terms for some investors, but like, you know, it doesn't have to be tokens, right? I mean, like on Void Network, the most valuable thing that we have are the projects. They're a lot more valuable than the foundation, than Block Authority, and that's what we have available. So you know, you know, maybe we can find a way to lube the startup funnel, you know, as they say, and you know, attract investors in the projects of Void. And I think that's something. I'm just throwing it out there, right? You know, like we always end up talking about Void, the liquidity, but we don't realize where the value is, right? The value is in all of our projects that built everything, you know, versus we need to make them happy, and we need to utilize their value to you know, to attract investors or whatever. So just keep that in mind, right? It's not just about our central authority on Void. It's not about our tokens. It's about the what we have that's valuable, right? It's our projects, and it's our developers. It's, you know, it's our console, and yeah. So you guys, I mean, we have that option, right? To attract investors, you know, not just token sales, but investing in the projects that we
could you be more specific about how like a project, let's say DorkFi, would go about, you know, or let's say your project Nautilus. Let's say would you end up like going to pitch to a VC to try to get funding to improve Nautilus, or what would you do? How would that work?
Well, in practice, I would utilize someone that is more you know, is more in tune to that. You know, the person that has done a really good job at like looking at opportunities like that over the year since we started has been bagman, and that's been his role. You know, he's he came on as not so developer focused as Kieran, Zarmian and I, but he was for like business partnerships, and so that's something we've been looking at, and we have similar like investor sheets than what you might have seen in like DarkFi, but it's just a matter of finding the right opportunity. So I think it would be the best way to go about that would be to have like a just like eventually be able to circulate our like investor relation sheets. But
Yeah, like find a VC or somebody willing to invest a bunch of money in one project within Voy, prove that project to be valuable to the investor, and then maybe they'll invest more within different projects of the ecosystem.
yeah,
I mean, I see what you're saying, but I think that leaves the same core project for the blockchain itself. Like when we talk at the project level, VC investors would bring Nautilus money and it would bring DorkFi money, but that won't give. I mean, it'll bring a little liquidity to the chain itself too, but that's still only for a project, and for any project, any one project that you can get an investor to give money to. We need, I think, money for Voy. Voy needs investment. It needs to be able to offer grants. It needs to be able to fund research and development for the chain. It needs to be able to offer money for marketing and roadmaps and all this stuff. And that is, you cannot put that on the projects, right? If Nautilus got investment, that doesn't mean that Voy now has the money for marketing or research and development or offering grants or even exit liquidity from the chain so people can, actually buy and sell the coin. I think this is like a thing that happens a lot, is that, in my opinion, at least, we talk around or get distracted by kind of side problems when I really feel that the core issue is in the chain itself, and that the chain itself needs proper management, or the best projects in the world aren't going to go anywhere on it.
I just want to remind everybody before we get out of here for the day that Ice Age is hosting a space tonight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you have time, pop on in. Let's talk more about Void.
Yeah, we didn't get to any of the other topics. This has been an awesome discussion, though, because I think it's about time we have these more difficult conversations, and a lot of times in these meetings we don't address them as much. Farnsworth, I thank you for joining and raising some of these points too, because it's needed to have a contrarian to raise some of these things. And
Dollars of liquidity over here, things can really start to pop off in ways that we really can't even imagine right now.
I think he's lagging.
Yeah, it's okay.
Sorry about that.
It's all good, Taco. But yeah, I think, and then obviously Wilder stepping down has opened up opportunity for someone else to step up and kind of take on some. And at the end of the day, we didn't really get to the, conversation about how do we want to do council elections? Is it, a 2-year long run for folks? How are we going to do we want to do the delegation that way? How long is it going to take for us to get to that stage? And it's been more of a conversation of, hey, are we doing this the right way? Is this what we should be, how we should be spending our time right now? or should
I think we should have this
simplify the
as a
process?
continued conversation in the network committee tomorrow, plus like kind of try to bring it up in this space and just keep talking about it whenever we
Sure.
can. It's not going to get solved immediately, but we can't keep putting it on the back burner.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's got to be. We can't spend more than a month on figuring this stuff out. We've got to make some decisions, step up, and actually get to the bottom of some of these things. And Farnsworth, you make some great points. But part of it is also like balancing the fact that yes, this is actually a community chain. This is how we decided to do things, and I think there could be a middle ground there where it's just a full on CTO situation where we take on more responsibility for things like fundraising, and we take on more responsibility for really putting out there what it is that we want to see from a proposal. Hey, we will fund these things if you bring XYZ to the table. But we kind of haven't done that. We've put out a billboard. We put out there is a bounty board on the Void Network website, but at the same time, we haven't explicitly like gone through and been like, hey, these are the skill sets that we need. Go form a team community based on these skill sets. Go find another developer or two to come into the ecosystem and help build XYZ thing, whether it be some type of tool to bundle transactions, or high frequency trading platform, or a DEX aggregator, another bridge. Like these are, I'm just listing down things that we need, and I would be so for funding, but we also have limited resources with the time and effort that we've got from our existing developer group, and who's going to step up and come into the space to help build these things that's not named Shelley, Zarmian, Kieran, Ludo. Farnsworth, when are you going to learn how to do Algorand Python?
I'm not. I've said it before, and I'm sticking to my guns, man. Like I don't want to participate in Voy as a developer.
Fair enough, I guess. Dictator only, right? Farnsworth for dictator.
Yeah, and I mean, I can see if some of you are like, well, why not? If you are a developer and we need developers, why aren't you participating as a developer? And part of it is I just don't like building in these languages really. But also another part is that as a developer, it's still at the same level. It falls into the same line of problems that I've been talking about, where it's only addressing issues at the project level. And what I feel really needs addressing are the issues at the blockchain level. So like, I would be happy to lead development, say, if we decided to do some R&D for Voy and to, take the chain in whatever direction we wanted to. But, I don't really have an issue in an interest in just, building a DEX aggregator or something like that. So that's a big reason for why I'm not really interested in building a project or being a developer for a project. I think, and I don't want to dismiss anyone's projects or anything like that, right? Because the problems exist across multiple levels and spectrums at the same time. So it's not that the chain doesn't need projects, but I just feel like the the core chain level problems are where I would want to put my focus and what I think are some of the most critical in order to make projects easier to develop and more attractive, and to be able to provide more incentives, to be able to even run a hackathon that's actually, you know, worth running. We need to solve these core chain issues.
Well, luckily we have a council. So.
Oh yeah, and I'd love to talk about some of the hackathon ideas that we brought up yesterday. I know Kieran had asked me kind of what my thoughts were, and I think some good ideas kind of came out of that. And I think tomorrow would probably be better because we're kind of running out of time here. But tomorrow would be a good place to do it, just because we'll have Fury on, and he was the last person to submit the hackathon proposal. But what I was saying, some type of biddle board blitz, or like a bug bounty blitz or something like that, where we've got clear outcomes that we're looking to drive. I think that would be impactful. We've got a huge backlog of biddle board tasks that we should be sicking the community on. Hey, how do we go and clear out that backlog, and or how do we get all of our all the projects that are on right now to come together and squash some bugs that may be out there, and then of course, hey, how do we get a mobile iOS wallet?
Yeah.
I've actually, so from what you said yesterday, it kind of had me thinking about like how projects could offer sort of.
Can you and Vera just collab and just like merge? That'd be great.
I actually haven't caught up with Dave about Vera properly.
I think it'd be super because he's about to give up on it, and I don't think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I'll see where he got, because he added a lot of like extra features, right? Extra stuff that was outside of Para. But yeah, just getting back to I've actually been thinking about this quite a lot since you said it yesterday, Bagran, about because Kibisi's I got quite a large bounty for back in testnet for Kibisi's. And I've just been staking, so it's been accumulating quite a lot anyway. So I'm probably going to use some of that as like prizes for a Kibisi's based hackathon. And in Kibisi's, I've been trying to separate a lot of the code out to kind of like a toolkit. So I was doing it anyway, but I think it might actually be good. So if people want to actually like, it doesn't actually have to be like something on Kibisi's, but it could be building something, with Kibisi's. I mean, even like changing Kibisi's in a way, But yeah, I'm thinking about it, and I definitely have the resources to make it like a Kibisi's themed hackathon.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
Shelly.
I was just gonna say, like, if you want to like add any, like I put some things on the biddle board, like for Kibisis, right? Just some, looking at your issues, and like I found a few. But if you want to like sponsor anything there, you can I could give you access so that you can like add to the board, and you can do all that, or you could just send me a big list, and then we can get someone that is able to do that to add them. But it's a growing tender loving care. It's probably
Yeah.
probably about like 4 million Voy worth of stuff. So
Yeah, I really would like a hackathon. I think it's good stimulus for sort of builders as well. Like the hackathon that we did in testnet, and I really enjoyed it. I think it was one of the best I did, even though it was virtual and everything. So I'd like to recapture that, but maybe not have to go through the proposal process. So if I can provide the funding from Cabeces, I think that'd be pretty cool.
yeah,
Not I'm saying council's proposal process is.
I think if you have like a I think if you have like a you go back and you look at the impact, you can kind of pay it forward for like a follow up, or you can, but I think yeah, that would be good. Like I've been I've been itching for something like Cabeces related. I think it should Cabeces related and like related to the new Kata Vault. Once you get once you get the prototype out.
Yeah, definitely gonna start thinking about stuff. Not thinking about stuff. I'm gonna start planning a hackathon because of Bagman. Because he told me to.
I love it. And I think honestly it could be like a joint effort, Cabeces Biddle hackathon, where we use some of that infrastructure together. And it's like, hey, it brings eyes on both projects, and it could be promoted as such a partnership together. And I think these types of things need partnership to kind of growth hack themselves out, and I totally agree that it would be super impactful for you guys and in general.
Yeah, I think we're like for Biddle, I think we would be down. Like we don't have any like any strings or like any blockers. So like if you like plan a hackathon, we could probably do like a match, to where get people like they don't even have to know about Biddle, but they know about the Cabeces hackathon, and they get they get a prize, and part of their prize would be in Biddle, and then maybe we can get more involvement there. But just keep in mind, as you go through, like a Biddle is a Voy, but it's a
Rapt
good.
Voy, Rapt Voy, B-Voy. Awesome. Well, I think this meeting's in some ways run its course, unless anybody else wants to, jump in and say anything. Kieran, really appreciate you joining and sharing your feedback on kind of where things are at, and then also offering to do some type of hackathon or commit some guidance on what you're looking for to help grow your project, and where you may or may not need some help too. So let's add that. I'll add that as an action item to be brought up again. We'll probably talk a little bit about it in the network meeting, and then also bring it up because I feel like there's lots of things that have been talked about throughout this entire year of working in and on mainnet Voy, and the things that get talked about the most are the things that actually end up happening. So we just got to keep the conversation rolling and then put some action to it. But yeah, thank you all for joining. Ice Age has got he's got a comment down there. join 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be joining that call as well. Should be fun. We can talk a little bit more about this and then what happened in the builders meeting. I was listening in earlier this morning. It sounded great. I had to cut off at a certain point, so I didn't catch the end of it. But yeah, we can chat about some of that stuff too this evening. So Farnsworth, once again, thanks for coming with your ideas and bringing your opinion to the stage here. It's appreciated, and obviously Shelley and Haroof too, and everybody in the audience. So it's a fun time to be a part of the ecosystem, and while they're kind of stepping down, has pushed us to have some more difficult conversations, and I think it's about time we step up to the plate and really kind of take on some of these challenges head on.
Yeah, I was thinking that we're like going through, like, where we are right now is kind of similar to where we were like before we started like the mainnet push, right? And so we're in kind of a a limbo, a council limbo, and everyone here is volunteer, like anyone else that shows up through the community meetings. So let's get through this and reach the next stage, right? This is kind of like for us it's kind of like going into mainnet, right? So we're in testnet right now, and we're looking to do mainnet again. So just to you feel something to feel excited about.
Yeah, I agree. It's good to see you guys for this meeting.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. I'll catch it.
Bye.